Well, good morning, everybody. This is Paul here with the National Weather Service in Great Falls. I'm a lead meteorologist over here. We're staying quite busy keeping track of this this early season winter storm that is moving into our region. So I'm going to just got the webcam here on just a little bit to say hello, but I'm going to disable this as we move into our presentation. We'll give a quick overview. We'll go through a couple of slides showing where we're at with the status of our incoming storm, and then we're going to have an opportunity to let all the other three offices in Montana talk about specific details, forecast, and impact concerns for their location. So I'm going to turn this webcam off, but of course my voice and everything should still be running here, and we'll just go ahead and get started with our briefing. Okay, so let's right up front with our key message. Now, this is a seasonally historic winter storm. It's poised to cause severe impacts to agriculture, recreation, power, and travel across the western half of Montana. There is moderate to very high confidence in this event. We've been coordinating our forecasts and with local, regional, and national teams. We've been leveraging scientific support from across our organization as well. To make sure that we can provide the best forecast possible for this. So this forecast, it will exceed September monthly snowfall records at some locations, and at least some calendar day cold records also at some locations across the area. So let's look at some of the details on this now. Starting with the watches that are in warnings and are in effect, we continue to maintain the winter storm warning for a very high confidence area of severe impacts over the northern Rockies and the adjacent plains onto the Rocky Mountain front. We maintain winter storm watches for surrounding areas across western Montana, southwest, central, and up in north central Montana. We're going to see some evolution in some of those statements here as we go through the days and into tomorrow as the weather really starts to move in. And as well, we want to point out there is a high wind warning for the Flathead Lake area there as well, and Missoula will have an opportunity to address that in more detail. Here's our latest snowfall forecast as of the overnight shift forecast for snowfall. We've been pretty consistently hitting this area to the north and west of Great Falls with generally something like 8 to 12 inches in the Great Falls area, up to 2 feet or over 2 feet for Cut Bank, and then we're talking multiple feet of snow for immediately along the Rocky Mountain front and into east sides of the Continental Divide up into Glacier Park. Those areas there will combine with some stronger winds as well, where blizzard conditions will be likely up into those areas as well. For the other areas to western, southwest, and central Montana, we're still struggling a little bit with the timing of a transition from rain to snow, and that will have some influence on those final snowfall amounts. So these numbers may still fluctuate somewhat around the edges of that core impact area. We're getting some good information coming in now in terms of the probability of exceeding various thresholds of snow. If we draw an 8-inch snowfall map, for example, it's basically certain that much of north central Montana and of course up into our highest impact area will be receiving at least 8 inches of snow. And then as we go to, let's try 18 inches of snow, again, we're not going to see those kind of numbers into western or southwest or eastern Montana, but we're still looking at near certain 18-inch snowfall amounts right along the Rocky Mountain front and up into Glacier Park. And if we really push this to the extreme here, here's the probability of having at least 30 inches of snow. And those are the kind of numbers we do have forecast for the Glacier Park area. So confidence is high. And the other element of this is that this is going to be a very long duration wet event as well. And you notice that there is a lot of precipitation out over northeastern Montana as well that will fall in the form of mostly rain. So the in these areas up here into the northern Rockies, the Rocky Mountain front, including the Blackfeet Nation out there, those are the areas where we are expecting heavy amounts of snowfall, where it would be mainly snow. So wind gusts, tomorrow's forecast for wind gusts over 40 to almost 50 miles an hour across the Flathead Valley. So we're expecting some large waves to develop on Flathead Lake that can cause damage along the shorelines associated with those large waves. There's a lot of tree and foliated still with leaves on those trees. Add a little moisture, some icing, things like that. There's high potential for tree damage and power outages as a result. And of course, along the Rocky Mountain front, including the Blackfeet Nation, we're looking at drifting snow with those colder temperatures as we move Saturday night into Sunday, and blizzard conditions are possible, if not likely. As we get to Sunday, this will be kind of the coldest part for daytime temperatures for this event, where we'd expect most areas that are going to change over to snow probably will have by this point. So snow continuing in that northern Rocky Mountain front area. Snow or rain at lower elevations across western and central Montana. And again, one of the things that's interesting here is that we've got these very high forecast snow totals. But remember that while the snow is falling at lower elevations, it will be melting on this very warm ground as well. So the amount of snow depth that finally accumulates, it may create the perception that the snow amount was, the storm event snowfall was under forecast, but the impacts nonetheless will continue to accumulate. And that's what we do want to focus on, is the impacts as we go through this event. Cold weather follows the event as well. Here we have temperatures in the teens, which for late September is definitely an eye-opener, and near, if not below, daily record low temperatures for a lot of locations. So a good hard freeze coming. That's going to kind of keep, anywhere we do get a good deep snowpack going, it's going to stick around for a while. During the daytime, we will go above freezing or with some sunshine on the roads. That'll create wet roads, which then refreeze overnight. So icing on roads overnight will continue for several days into next week. And of concern is that in really remote areas where maybe we lose power or have agricultural impacts, we're looking at a slower recovery time because of difficult access continuing with that lingering snow cover. Wind chill for any exposure, livestock exposure, or people just out and about. Of course, wind chill is a great concern here as we go into Monday morning and again into Tuesday morning, potentially single-digit low wind chills in some of these areas. So be mindful of that. So a couple of, just to highlight some impacts that we're recognizing for north central Montana. Blizzard conditions likely for the northern Rockies, the Rocky Mountain front, the Blackfeet Nation included in this. 1 to 4 feet of snow expected right up there against the mountains. The timing of that will begin developing tonight, and it will continue through the weekend into Monday. So we're looking for power outages, stranded livestock, impassable roads, probably more impacts. We can't name them all there, but that's what we're looking for. So at lower elevations across north central Montana, including the Great Falls area, heavy wet snow followed by a hard freeze. This begins mainly Saturday, continues through Monday. Again, numerous, possibly widespread power outages, tree damage, difficult travel, stranded livestock again. And we're concerned about those remote areas where if we do lose some power lines going into remote areas, it could be difficult to repair those, leading to long duration power outages. For southwest Montana, lesser impacts. Most of the impacts there will be with snow above 6,000 feet. But we do have rain change into valley snow Saturday night, so we could see some icy roads for a time, including along I-90 up through Bozeman Pass over to Homestake Pass and further deeper into southwest Montana as well. So at this time, I'll throw the conversation over to Missoula. We've got a forecaster from Missoula on the line, and if you'd like to go ahead and address your concerns over on the western Montana.
Yeah, this is Jen. So I think you've highlighted most of the concerns that think the wind is something we really want to draw people's attention to, especially across northwest Montana.
Thank you, Jen and Missoula, for those comments. I did just, we have acknowledged we've got a couple of folks on the briefing here who were unable to hear Missoula's briefing there. We understand that. We'll, I think it's because if you dial into the phone, if you're just listening on your computer, you might lose audio for just a moment there. But what we're reviewing is presented on the slides in front of us. If you have questions about what you're seeing on the slides, we can, I will elaborate further if you have particular questions, if you can't hear audio for a moment. Let's go ahead and move on to, let's see, we're going to move to Glasgow now. If Glasgow has some comments they want to add to these things, Glasgow, you can just let me know. I think you've got another slide here, so let me know when you need to switch it.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so for our neck of the woods over here in northeast Montana, obviously lesser snow, more isolated, but that southwestern Phillips County, up in the higher elevations of the Little Rockies above Zortman, we are expecting at least a foot of snow, maybe up to 18 inches of snow. And then for our northern Phillips County, 6 to 12 inches, and isolated portions of northern Valley County as well. For us, a little bit more tricky will be that dividing line between rain and snow and where that's going to line up. You know, if you imagine a line from Plentywood through Glasgow down through Winnett, the decision of the rain and snow mix, whether that comes in with portions of rain or snow, that's going to be something we have to consider and try to work that out. So other concerns we're worried about out here, regardless whether we have rain or snow, total event precipitation up to 3 inches of water over the next 3 days. So backcountry roads for hunters and farmers are going to get muddy, and it's going to make it really difficult to reach some of those locations. So anybody who's out and about is going to have problems accessing any backcountry non-paved roads. Also, because of all of this precipitation, the creeks and rivers and streams are going to run high easily through the beginning part of next week. We have river gauge forecast getting right up into minor flood stage. This is the Milk River at Glasgow, and some of the other neighboring locations as well could easily see some of those rises with this storm system. We want to make sure that people are aware of that flooding concern that we have. Also outdoors, some local and regional high school groups are having outdoor sports competitions, you know, football games, cross-country meets. They will be impacted by cold, wet, windy conditions, and we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. So we will be considering some winter weather products here. We're going to get that out this afternoon and let us know. So those are our impacts for northeast Montana. Any questions, feel free.
All right, so any questions for Glasgow? Okay, we do see a couple of questions coming in here. We'll address those momentarily here. Let's move on and have a visit with the Billings Forecast Office. Go ahead and let us know what your concerns are there in southeast Montana.
Okay, thanks, Paul. This is Kurt here in Billings, and we still have some uncertainty with what's going to exactly happen. The cold air seems to be delaying again. So as we mentioned, we have a winter storm watch now. We issued yesterday for our our lower elevations and our mountains beginning tomorrow morning. It looks like we're going to delay that 12 hours and begin it Saturday evening, late afternoon, early evening. Again, the peak precip time looks to be Saturday night into Sunday evening. We might be upgrading the mountains to a warning, but latest models also show that getting delayed too with the heaviest QPF. So that also, if there's any warnings going out for the mountains, that might get delayed as well. Precip-wise, it looks like many areas will get 1 to 2 inches of liquid across the area through the event. But it does look like the bulk of it is going to go to our north and west. As for Sunday actually kind of looks interesting in the way that the southeast Montana actually looks to be dry slotted. And we might get temperatures in the upper 60s. We have mid-60s in right now. They might approach 70. So Sunday might be a day where we might have an isolated 1 or 2 strong thunderstorms in the southeast. At the same time, it could be snowing in our northwest across Wheatland County. So yeah, that's all we have here. But again, like we'll be delaying the watch probably another 12 hours. And if things continue to trend downward, we're still probably looking at upgrading to a warning as opposed to an advisory, just because it's the first one of the season and the impacts are a lot greater without using snow amounts to dictate things. With the impacts being so great, even 3 to 5 inches could still cause a lot of problems. So we're still looking at all that because it has changed again a bit since yesterday. And that's it for Billings.
Okay, thanks. Any particular questions for well, Missoula, Glasgow, or Billings? Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna, well, okay. So I do have a couple of questions. There's at least one question that has been typed in here for us from Matt. Matt has asked us to elaborate a bit on why this is considered a historically significant storm and what role, if any, does climate change play. So this is considered a historically significant storm from the context that our forecast 2 and 3 day storm snowfall totals for September will be near or higher than the existing records for 3 day snow totals in September. So for example, in Great Falls, our 3 day record snowfall in September is around 13 inches. And our forecast is very close to that. For the Cut Bank area, our forecast is higher than the existing record of around 15 inches for the Cut Bank area for a 3 day storm total in September. So in addition to that, this storm is forecast to cover a very large area. That's what has our attention. It's some of these early season events can produce snowfall over smaller areas. This is a much larger impact area for this storm. So between the snowfall forecast and the at least calendar day low temperature records that are forecast to follow, that's why we consider this historically significant. In terms of the role of climate change, well, just in general, you know, science is showing that with a warming planet, individual weather systems are becoming a little more energized. But, you know, from the context of what we're focusing on right now, we're focusing on this winter storm impacts. It's far too early for us to be able to make any sort of claims about a connection to climate change. That's more of an academic question. And so for messaging and media support, we want to continue to emphasize the impacts. There are forecasts for this event. I have another question that's appeared. Are these slides going to be available for print? Yes, we'll prepare a PDF of these slides and we'll distribute them out to the same email list that we sent the announcement to. And we are going to try to make a recording as well. On Wednesday, we had a little trouble with that, but we're going to try again to get a recording out. Any other questions? I love that we have a large audience here. Feel free to speak up and, you know, voice a question or type it into the question list. Sure. My full name, my full name is Paul, last name Nutter, N-U-T-T-E-R. I'm a lead meteorologist with Weather Service in Great Falls. Let's see. Webinars are helpful for utility operations. Yeah, thank you for the comment, Carson. Okay, well, we will be broadcasting some live webinars on Facebook as we go through the weekend. So look for those. Continue to keep track of our Facebook page, our Twitter feed. Check our website for updates. And feel free to call us with questions as they come along. And reports are also very helpful for us as we go through the storm. Reports of snowfall amounts, impacts, things like that, that we can continue to document and continue to get the word out as impacts begin to develop. Okay, if there, I see a comment there from Robert. Thank you, Robert. And if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and sign off. Stay safe out there, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.